My name is Brian Beckstead. I am a product manager here at MasterControl. Specifically, I work on the manufacturing solution. I've worked at MasterControl for a little over 6 years in many different capacities, implementation, technical support, account management. All led me to product, which I love because I get to advocate for customers.
Hi, I'm Jamie Nowacek, and I also have been MasterControl for about 5 years and also a product manager. I work primarily in the quality solutions area, but I do have a history in manufacturing and R&D and validation, and I believe implementation is when Brian and I met.
I've been working together for a couple years. It's been great. I'm happy to be here with Jamie today, being able to present this webinar.
All right, some of the key takeaways from today's webinar is you'll get to see how digitization can give you that competitive advantage and increase your resiliency, and some of the benefits of how quality and production can work together to make that happen. We'll also show you how to calculate return on investment to make sure you can really make that happen for your organization. And personalize this to make it the right thing for your organization and get that buy-in that you absolutely need.
All right, to get started, I want to talk about what actually is organizational success. How do you define organizational success? So what really helped me, I had to break this down, kind of go back to the old school days and think about what the actual definition for success is, which I thought was really helpful in this case. Success actually means to accomplish one's goals, meaning you can't have success unless you actually have goals that you're trying to accomplish. So thinking about this, I really wanted to pose the question to our customers, what are your goals? Are you looking to pass your next audit with flying colors? Are you looking to keep up with demand? Are you looking more towards growth? You're looking for a 20% year-over-year growth and looking really to the future. It is really important that you ask yourself this. Recently, I had a really good conversation with one of our customers about this, and I wanted to tell you their story, but have you put yourself in their shoes and think about their story and see if any of it sounds familiar to you. All right, imagine you work for a growing pharmaceutical compounding company. Your goals are to drive that additional growth and really increase your efficiencies. You recognize that you would benefit from A, improving your process throughput, B, increasing your employee proficiency, C, having a much deeper focus on quality, so many times it's an afterthought, and D, better cross-functional team collaboration, really that organizational success piece. In your industry, mistakes are insanely costly. Not only do they slow things down, but they could hurt one of your consumers at the end of the day if they aren't caught. So from the reliance on paper documentation to having disconnected systems and processes, this results in a lot of duplicated work. You know there's room for improvement. You need to figure out where that improvement can happen. And your overall goal is to try to spend time doing valuable things, really focusing on improving the lives of your patients and consumers. This customer definitely realized quickly that they had problems and they needed to address these. This led them to asking the right questions and overall led them to finding the right system that led them to digitize their systems, both manufacturing and quality. And they've already reported back with immediate improvement in document searchability, enhanced business function and system integrations, clearer accountability, and significant reduction in manual and redundant steps. Does this sound familiar? I feel like we hear this story all the time. I guess, Jamie, do you agree with that?
Absolutely, and I really want to help customers realize and learn from this lesson and how they can improve that.
Yeah, Jamie and I both work in product. Our goal is to help our customers see value in what we offer. So what we're hoping to do today is help you identify what some of these problems you should be looking to solve are. Honestly, assessing any realistic objections you could get from actually digitizing from your organization or maybe from yourself, and focusing on what your company goals are as well as your personal goals, and then figuring out what the next steps are. Let's start with some examples of some possible problems that we are looking to solve. So I think a good one to start on is imagine you're in the middle of an audit. A specific piece of information has been requested, and you are the lucky soul that gets to go look that piece of information up. You need to find it quickly and need to have all of the information to back it up. It is a problem constantly that we see people needing to go look at 3 different systems to try to track down what happened. Another one is just like this. You have miscommunications or lots of transferring data across different disconnected systems. Imagine a training platform, another system where you house all your documents. There's a lot of possibility where things aren't really communicating and you're not actually being able to use that data.
Absolutely. I've seen this in the quality role as well. When those audits, boy, they just sure don't happen at the right time, do they? Operations is still trying to ship product out, and we really don't want to be the person that slows down that process. So quality's goal during those audits is really helping operations and enabling them. So we don't want to slow them down. And having morale in quality to protect operations from those errors is absolutely our job one. So these are the kind of problems I've seen in the quality area as well, Brian.
All right, next, we actually know there are going to be objections to digitization. Change is scary. This is a big thing, and we want to make sure people actually are ready, that people are going to kind of push back. Some of these common objections that we see are, it's going to be a big time, money investment up front. It can take time to see results. Everything has to be validated. Hopefully, Jamie and I can give you some talking points to make sure you know how to address these in a good, positive, moving forward way that actually is going to help. What are your thoughts on this, Jamie?
Sure. I mean, coming from a quality, and I'm hoping that most of you probably haven't heard this phrase before, but there is a cost to quality, right? You have your conformance costs up front, or what they call appraisal costs, and then you have your non-conformance costs. And so having this mindset, I'm sure a lot of you already have this. It's just a matter of putting this down on paper and help support that in a digital fashion. And honestly, there's some great news on the horizon with some of the digitization efforts. The FDA is recognizing more and more about how keeping your system validated is of the utmost importance. And so they're changing their guidelines to something more like continued software assurance. And you may be hearing more from the FDA on this, but essentially it encompasses 4 ideas. Identify what you're doing with your software. Is it a direct software that's going to go packaged with your med device, or is this something that's just supporting your quality? Make sure you have a risk assessment around that product and leverage the vendor testing as much as possible and record that effort. And I want to circle back on the vendor testing. Not that this is a plug or anything, but we do a great job here at MasterControl, and we work a lot in the validation area to make that as easy as possible. And with these changing regulations, we have other supportive literature out there, so take a look at that and let us know what you think. I really think it's a great way moving forward that the FDA is turning this direction.
Completely agree.
So looking how we can measure these exciting things for improvement, we have something called key performance indicators. And some of you may already have these in your organization, but looking at these directly, how they can impact your digitization efforts, would be a great way to support this effort. And so when I talked about that cost to quality, what are some examples that people can measure? And I have some here, things like auditing your training records. And those folks in operations, they're probably familiar with the percent yield, which is right first time rate, which really means how much product am I making, how much am I throwing away, and can I get more yield out of that product? That's a great metric to measure. Also, with the non-conformance, we don't like to really measure ourselves against what's negative, but it really is helpful to get that baseline metric on how many kappas you are experiencing. How many deviations are they going down over time when I move to digitization? And also, once you have this digital, you can start to become predictive and actually get ahead of some of that non-conformance. How exciting is that? I know we hear a lot about predictive analytics, machine learning. We hear a lot about this, and it really is coming to our attention here at MasterControl how we can make that better. So moving to digital is really the first step.
I completely agree. I'm way excited to see more predictive analytics and see really how that goes. I think it really is about this old adage, like time equals money. Like if you can save time, you're going to directly save money. Thinking about this from the manufacturing side, building off of some of the common KPIs that we see, we know that yield, like Jamie talked about, throughput, cycle time, these are things that are really thinking about a schedule. They're time-based. And I think if we focus on using these KPIs to identify places that we can save time, that's going to really lead your effort in finding what is going to work for you. Where is it going to be the most beneficial for you to digitize? We know from what we've seen from a lot of our customers and from the industry, the amount of time it takes to input data, also the amount of errors that happen from manual data entry, how long a deviation takes. Think about SOPs, work instructions, all these GMP documentation files that need to be collaborated on and also be approved, knowing that you have the right approval you're working on. Also, throughout the manufacturing process, from the time you complete manufacturing to reviewing it, having that be able to be now released to your end product or to your end customer. These are all massive areas that hopefully these KPIs are going to help you identify where your organization can improve.
Absolutely. And thanks for spelling that out. I know we have a calculator online that can really help people with that. And so once you get introduced to some of these tools, how do you bring it all together? How do you make it meaningful for your organization? You know, we've talked a lot about this in a generic fashion so far. And I think really getting into the weeds a little bit about how you can go about doing this for your organization will really be beneficial. So let's talk about a few of those things.
One of the first big benefits that you see as soon as you start bringing that quality manufacturing data together is the ability to trust that data. I think trust is a key issue when it comes to data. We've been used to it being disconnected for so long. We're just used to needing to jump through all the hoops to get there. You see that in a paper-based system, people are spending time needing to find paper, validate calculations, look for user notes, verify signatures, look at date formats. A bunch of time is spent on items that really don't add value or really lead the organization towards their goals. I think there's a ton of value between bringing the manufacturing and quality data together. What are your thoughts on that, Jamie?
Oh, absolutely, Brian. I can't tell you how many times I've had to track someone down on the floor because I didn't know a 3 from an 8. I mean, it just seems so silly, but those things are really important. And in paper, we put all these policies in place, right? Quality or doc control will come and say, well, you didn't use indelible ink. It's not per our policy. Or you didn't do a single cross out, you scribbled. You know, and these are little minor things, but in digitization, you don't see that because the system proactively alerts you before you enter the data. So if you're not entering data in the format that the template provides, then you simply can't proceed, which is such a huge cost savings when you talk about shifting left on your operational costs. I have a really good historical example of this back in my previous life when I used to be involved in a lot of distribution of a medical device product. We had a decimal point that was moved over just 1/10, and that made the difference on whether or not the product worked, and the product didn't work. And so we had to recall that product, all because of a silly decimal point. And when it's digital, it just won't let you do that, and it's just fantastic how that happens.
Oh, for sure. And it's so easy not to, when something like that happens, to not trust that it will never happen again, that you you just won't trust people at that point. And I think that digital software or digital system really does provide the ability to have less human error by automation. I think that's a perfect example of that. Yeah. I think also thinking about having that data become available because it's all in one area. Some good examples of that is being able to centralize. If you're bringing data from a third-party system, think of a SCADA, think of an MES system, ERP, whatever other system that you are using, that is a siloed piece of data. That's a siloed database that you don't have access to that data when you're looking at your overall picture. So bringing it all together and being able to figure out how to use that and see that data to be able to track and trend it brings lots of different value points, I think.
Absolutely. Like in quality, we don't want to be chasing that stuff down for multiple systems either. And I just want to pause and say what I really like. Speaking of changes and bringing it together, I really like how the review by exception page works in manufacturing. As a quality person, I can do a single sign off, right, for all the changes that happen on that batch record. So, batches can take 2-3 days, sometimes weeks, especially if there's holidays or things that happen in between. So it's fantastic that that can all be brought together. And I also have situations where I've seen in quality where we're seeing delinquent training, not because someone didn't train, but we've moved equipment around and now it's on a new line. And we don't realize that's a different set of people on that line. So even though may have used equipment 100 times, we don't actually have training records for that particular bottling line. So the way manufacturing and quality can partner is just preventing those errors, and it's fantastic when it happens. It saves quality a lot of time.
I think it enables them to be proactive. They can see changes, they can reference sources of truth, they can provide training before it really does become a problem. It is exciting. It's exciting to see that there are so many benefits of bringing it together. So we have some customer examples showing specific cost savings. This first one is really exciting to me because it does highlight the use case between manufacturing and quality. So one of our customers, they're a contract manufacturer. They make nutraceuticals, have about 150 different employees. They saw a massive increase as they started to progress throughout, I guess, over the last couple of years, and realized that just the paper system wasn't going to cut it for them anymore. They realized that they couldn't scale given the constraints that paper product or the paper system gives them. There were too many boundaries, too many other outside checks that they had to do. So they asked the right questions, which led them to MasterControl. After implementing both the manufacturing and quality solutions, they reported a 70 to 80% reduction in post-production review time. So that's after manufacturing's been completed, and that quality persona needs to get into that manufacturing record on that RBE page we're talking about. Because it's centralized, they now could have it all, what they actually would care about in one area, which significantly reduced the review time, as well as they knew that they reported back 90% decrease, or a 90% decrease in data input errors on the actual manufacturing line.
So it's talking about those 3s and 8s, right, Brian?
Definitely.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and looking at another case study that was done where they had reduction in deviations anticipated, which what I think that really means to say is they were able to prevent the error before it happened, which is what I was talking about, shifting those costs left and preventing errors before they happen, and you get that cost savings immediately. And so a lot of times we don't think about this with human paper systems, right? You have a lot of human touch points, and they're trying to calculate all the possible things that could go wrong in that human touch point. And when you digitize it, now it's automated. So you have a one touch point, and a lot of times the computer is doing a lot of that for you, so you're removing steps altogether. And I know coming from a Lean Six Sigma background, that is music to my ears, as we can eliminate and reduce. So seeing a 20 to 25% decrease in preventing those deviations, that's fantastic.
And it's proactive, which is massive. The last example here, I really like because it's such a direct comparison to ways that you can see that time equals money. One of our customers, they saw a massive increase given the recent circumstances with COVID. They realized that they needed to excel at a pace that they weren't able to. So after implementing MasterControl, they actually reported that they saved 450 hours in a single year from the amount of time with just the training module itself. By providing digital training, it allowed their employees to focus on, I guess, manufacturing the steroid that they make and provide value for their customers much quicker too.
That's fantastic to hear. That's a lot of time. I think I could do a lot in 450 hours.
Me too.
A lot of puzzles, that's for sure. Well, how does this all come together and really simplify it for your organization? We've talked a lot of stuff, right? Like a lot of details about how to measure and how to do that. Coming from quality, we work hand in hand with regulatory, and even though we're not representing any expertise there, I can tell you, when you can get your quality right, your regulatory folks are really happy with you. You can prevent during an audit having to search for those documents and all of that comes along with it, all that time. And When we talk about productivity as well, Brian touched a little bit on the hour savings. We've kind of alluded to how you can prevent defects and deviations. And we've done some metrics around this, and we've seen some document rounding increases where they'll do a single document a month, and now they can do 30. So that's really what that means. I mean, it's amazing the impact you can have. And then we talk about the people element, right? It's all about creating the partnership between your quality people and your operational people, and how to make most use of their time. You know, at the top of this webinar, we talked about this word resiliency. And it's a word that is very emotional right now. We've all been through some resiliency of our own. And what I think about this with resource utilization is, you know, you don't have to bring in more people because you have more work to do. And growth is great, but what you can do when you're efficient with your employee usage and their expertise is you can really maximize the people you have, and you can free them up to do cross-training and have other opportunities in the organization, which is really great for morale. So I think these are some of the intangibles that maybe don't obviously come up when we're talking about costs and time, but simplifying the process and making it easy on your people is a great way to also see that resiliency.
Completely agree. I think the ability to bake in quality into the manufacturing process or your operational processes, whatever it is, quality is not an afterthought. There is a proactive partnership between quality and manufacturing. Another hot topic, speaking about resiliency, is work from home has been a pretty big thing over this last year. We've seen that more and more work has been needed to be done remotely. A beautiful thing, I think, and something I'm really grateful for, is the ability to have a digital system that allows a lot more work to be done remotely. I think whether it's collaborating on those SOPs, work instructions, or trying to review those manufacturing documents for errors, you feel more connected because you can work remotely wherever you are, whether you're overseas or you have multiple locations here in the United States. I think it provides more transparency and ability to do your job and also collaborate and be there without being there, which I'm grateful for.
That's a great point. So let's take a look at how this can become really important for your organization. You know, we've talked a lot generically again about a lot of case studies that some of our other customers have brought to our attention, but what does this mean for you? How can you make this solution fit for your organization? One of the biggest things I hear when we did the implementations for our customers is getting that consensus really up front and buying into the solution that you have for your quality management system. And so this increased transparency is one way to do it. You can really start to show them the key performance indicators that we talked about, where the bottlenecks are, start getting ahead of that, shifting left a little bit. And I think that really gets your organization excited about what digitization can do for you. So really think about what those metrics are and what's meaningful to your company. That's where you're going to get your buy-in from your users and from your executives, who most likely need to fund this project, right, and keep you going. So to me, that is really important. Pick the right metrics, get that consensus, and make sure that you've talked to those executives, talk to your IT department. Don't be shy, get their buy-in and get on board. I think that will really help you personalize your solution and really help your organization rally around the digitization process.
Completely agree. I think questions are key. I love questions. You don't think you can ask too many questions. So transcending thinking about what's best for you, think about what is also best for your company, like Jamie touched on. Questions like, how big is your company? What kind of goals do you have? What kind of growth? How big would you like to see your company? You need to be prepared for that. How long have you been in business? What kind of enterprise systems do you currently have integrated or are you going to need to integrate? I think also something along the lines of, what does your timeline look like? Really all leading back to, what are your company's goals? Are you looking to expand? Is what you're doing right now enough? Are you okay with that? Or do you need more? It is important to honestly answer that.
Absolutely. So like I said, you have the metrics to get started and create that collaboration with the buy-in, and that will really give you that competitive advantage that you're looking for. And measuring this success, like I talked a little bit about the calculator, we didn't go through it today, but please stop by and take a look at that calculator. I think that will really help really measure what you're setting yourself up for with your organization and start to prove out this measurement through the digitization process and really make it real for your organization. And if you're so inclined, you can always pilot the systems together. We do this a lot with Six Sigma, right? We look at our current process, we measure our improved process, and it really then brings it full circle and shows how you can measure that success.
I can't agree more.
I love you, Brian.
I think it is insanely useful, and it is very good to take that step back, ask yourself, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? I'm fairly certain that Jamie and I both will agree on this, that as you look at unifying both the quality and manufacturing data, you're gonna see benefits. You need to be able to quantify those benefits, make a case for them, overcome objections, so that you can successfully see your company be successful. So what we hope you took from this, again, is how to digitalize, giving you competitive advantage and increase your resiliency. The benefits of integrating quality and production together. The ROI of integrating quality and production and how to calculate that. And then at the end of the day, how to identify that right system for your organization. Thank you very much for your time today. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.